Sonia, and thank you everyone for joining us today. It's truly a pleasure to have you all here and have Foster here to present his work. So Foster attended Marlborough College in Vermont, where he received a BA in Fine Art and Classical Sculpture, along with a mathematics minor. He moved to NYC in 1984 and worked in construction to support his art. In 1988, enrolled in Parsons School of Design to pursue his Master of Fine Arts in Classical Painting in the Beaux-Arts Style Atelier program led by Leland Bell and Paul Rosica. Over 30 years of exploration and executed work, Foster has amassed a group of standard products and practices that he feels embody the best and most beautiful aspects of plaster. Foster and his amazing team have been the recipients of the Trumbauer Award, the Meisner Award, and the Bullfinch Award, all for excellence in craftsmanship. Foster is a board member of the Institute for Classical Architecture and Art, and is on the preservation committee of Old Westbury Gardens, where he helps oversee the restoration of the Phipps Mansion. Foster dedicates much time to educating craftsmen, builders, designers, and the modern techniques and use of plaster, and we're delighted he's here to educate us. So as a reminder, everyone, if you have any questions throughout the presentation or afterwards, please use the Q&A function at the bottom right of your screen. You'll see it right at the very bottom on the right side. Please don't use the chat, and we'll monitor the Q&A, which we'll then jump into after Foster's talk. Without further ado, Foster Reed. Thank you, Foster.
Thank you, and hello, everyone. I want to thank everyone for attending, and I understand everyone's time is very valuable. So I want to jump in straight away to the wonderful world of plaster that I have spent the last 30 years of my life really exploring. And I am, super excited to share this with everybody who has an ear for classicism, classical design, classical efficacy in the trades. And I think this is a trade that I have spent an enormous amount of energy developing to be one of the most, productive and important interior design and construction trades that can bring to bear for the interior build out of a program. So I'm more of a craftsman than I am a speaker, but I would love to talk to you about this. So plaster is derived from gypsum, and gypsum is a mineral that is derived from calcium. And in front of your screen here, you're going to see the crystals that are gypsum in our ecosystem. So anyway, let me keep going here. Everything that we have done in our trade is derived from the history of this product. I can go on and on about how much we have done to deliver this as a product across the ecosystem. There are thousands of iterations of this, and they're wonderful. Let's jump in right into what plaster does as a wall finish. plaster just is everything that your walls are built out of. This is a Stuc-Pierre, which is a plaster finish developed in France in the Haussmann renovation of Paris. It is an integral colored limestone iteration of a interior finish. Here is a beautiful, maybe you don't see it, but this is a Marmorino finish that was deployed on a Utah ranch where natural wood and plaster were put together to develop a absolutely beautiful skin for this interior. Here is another iteration of a plaster finish married with a natural wood background. This is integral colored Stuc-Pierre as a finish. Again, this is a natural plaster with a pencil edge right at a door opening. This might seem very simple, but this required the plasterers to, integrate with the builder to build out this beautiful integral colored moment. And it was just beautiful. So designers around the world want to hear how plaster integrates with the builder and the millwork program. And this is one of our best iterations of that. It's like a pencil edge. It's perfect. This is a humongous program that we did with Stuc-Pierre. This is plaster at its finest, just integrating with the entire build out of a project and working with the contractor and the designer and the architect to really deliver a integral colored plaster program in all of its, complexity and completion. Oh, I didn't know this was coming up. Sorry. This is a Stuc-Pierre. Sorry. That's the Mona Lisa in the background, but this is the people we buy this product from in France, who their folks have delivered a wall finish that is used in the Louvre. And it is just, an amazing wall finish, straight up. But it is actually a limestone derived product. Here it is again, and it is all over the place in the Louvre. This is the same product delivered for a wall finish, and the associated ceilings that are in a cloister in an amazing project that we did. And it is you know, all plaster. Everything's plaster. Everything you see there is plaster. Here it is again. And here it is again. This is a rotunda going up in a French classical house, all the way the underside of the staircase in a panelized form, the wall finish in an ashlar cut form. There it is again. You can see the ashlar cut in the walls. And this is a project in Los Angeles that we did with William Hefner. Basically the same program, all Stuc-Pierre. The archway that you see that we're looking through is all cast. Everything else, the columns up on the balcony are cast Stuc-Pierre. Everything is a natural limestone finish that is done in plaster and delivered accordingly. There it is again and again. There it is in more detail. And more detail. Another Stuc-Pierre program where the wainscoting is a little bit more complicated, but the walls are, yeah, this is a kind of a haute cuisine, Pierre Molyneux. There it is again. Yeah, you can have a lot of fun with this program. So one of the things that sets plaster apart from wood is how easily we can make shapes. So these shapes that you see being carved in plaster in front of you are actually incredibly simply constructed. In wood, this is complicated. In plaster, it's pretty simple. Doesn't mean it's cheap, but it is indeed simple. And we can use curvature, trammel, we can do ellipses, everything. Plaster really does, is really quite simple to deploy in complex assemblies. Well, I think that speaks for itself. There's a lot of complexity there that plaster really just owns. So this picture shows how a plaster molding gets assembled to a substrate. So a builder will build this substrate, sheathe it with drywall, and plaster comes in and really just beds to that using gypsum. So we are not screwed. There are no screws. There are no fasteners. We are mudding this to that gypsum substrate. And that is very important to how we deploy our product. Here's a great Los Angeles project that we did in Beverly Hills. Kind of a deco modern program. All these walls are scalloped, huge scallops, a la Joan Benke. And all of these moldings are plaster. So everything you see here is plaster. All of the substrate is gypsum. And we just bedded everything that you see here to that substrate, including the scallops. So all of our shop drawings would show everything, all the door casings, all of the pilasters, all of the spandrel, paneling, all of the pilasters above, all gypsum on gypsum. Here's another shot of that same scalloped staircase, showing how all of this is gypsum. Everything you see here is gypsum, bedded to gypsum with gypsum. This is, what is this? This is Oprah Winfrey's house in Malibu. Scalloped walls with spandrel, stringer faces, all in gypsum. The entire assembly is in gypsum. The elliptical window above is in gypsum. Everything monolithic. It's never going to move. Modern. So FRA has a reputation for being classicist. I am on the board of the ICAA. We are classicists. But as classicists, we love everything having to do with incredibly developed design. This is UN Studios out of Amsterdam. They are amazing classicists of modern design. These people have no shortage of knowledge and alacrity with this vocabulary. Everything you see here, everything. This is a floating wall that is 60 feet long. It is all plaster. These pilasters are tapered, bone-shaped castings. These walls are integrated from the wall surface to the ceiling. The ceilings, you can't see them here, are actually shaped plaster. It's really quite phenomenal. And here are some of the details. The 60-foot wall ends at the ground right here, and we formed the whole prow of this ship. The library, these are all cast plaster supports for every one of these shelves. Moving on, this is a modern iteration of a ceiling wherein these panels that made up the ceiling are absolutely seamless. All of this is plaster, and it is, I'm at a loss for words. I don't know what to say. It works, it's functional, and it's incredibly stable. More in my wheelhouse, this is a mausoleum that we did for a living person. I love it. So he built this incredible chapel to himself as a party space up in Boston, and all of the trim at the bottom at the perimeter here, and everything about the dome, all precast. They just, gave us a shell. We came in, we did everything. And in very enjoyable moment. Florida project. And what I loved about this was the amount of time that we had to spend with the design team actually figuring out what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. I don't know if you can see, but up at this dome here, the circle does not engage east and west, and north and south, it actually engages with the moldings. This is the type of design development that we work with architects to make sure that they understand what their lines mean and how we're going to actually execute this, design that they put forward. There's an enormous amount of coordination that went into that, and that had to be done, up front, ahead of the curve, and that's what we live for. This is a crazy Lake Worth Avenue project that I won't go into, but it's if you want crazy door casings, this is one of them. So let's get into how we actually build these crazy assemblies. This is a humongous dome that's going in over a swimming pool. It's going in by piece. There's no framing. We're bringing this, there are the pieces on the ground. Those are the pieces going in, and we support it with wire. We back it with kickers, and sorry, I missed a photo there. I thought I had the finished photo, but this dome has no framing above it. Okay, so we come in, this was all there was above there, nothing. And we came in and basically handled the entire assembly of that dome. This is a Los Angeles project. This is a swimming pool with a huge dome above it. Florida project with a very complex groin vault system. And as you can see, these pieces are being delivered in sections. And that is how that works. You could, I don't know how many contractors there are. I don't know how many, owners there are, but you try to create this complexity of a dome or of a cloister, of a groin vault, LA. Here it is. It's coming in, it's fully formed, it's ready to go, and it's done. And you can see the complexity of the arises all arriving at a spring point down there. And you say, how am I going to do that? The precast model is the best way. It's perfect. This is actually a historic photo from Copenhagen, which I took because it is an umbrella vault that I think is, it was made 450 years ago, but it's a perfect example of what we can do today in a precast that is, easy to achieve. Here's a LA project that we did that achieves essentially the same idea in section. Again, jumping back to Florida, we are looking at sections here, just sections of this coffered ceiling that we can precast and simply install with enormous alacrity that provides value to a designer who is going to say, okay, I need this. What is this going to cost? Well, you know what? Across this entire ceiling with all of these, pre-made moments, these were all molded and cast, and they were very, economical. Same thing. So jumping to ornament, and this is something that, our studio has a really big footprint in the plaster market. There's an enormous opportunity to bring ornament to plaster and to bring it to bear on a project. It doesn't have to be all over the place. It doesn't have to be an over-the-top neoclassical project. It can be a very specific moment in the space. This is a perfect example where a lady's office in a house that was not particularly ornate was developed using precedent from English country homes, and we were able to bring a level of artistry here. And I will tell you, this lady did not particularly want this, and the design team pushed it, and we delivered it, and she is over the moon with the outcome. So, ornament can cover all facets of the ecosystem, high French, everywhere else. So, sorry. So one of the things that plaster can do is this is a Stupierre iteration in LA, is to accommodate the HVAC systems. And it's no small task to integrate that into your program. And there are a lot of opportunities to bury HVAC into a build out. And I think it's one of the things that, Plaster does really, really well, because it has no reaction to temperature and humidity fluctuations. The overdoors are those. And this entire build out is plaster. Here was actually an apology from the engineering department, where they took a very small grill and made it huge because they didn't accommodate for the right volume. So our studio in New York is both a production studio and a art studio. Our studio in Los Angeles is a production studio. And I would invite anyone who is interested in visiting in Los Angeles to stop by, because we do lots and lots of great things. But the studio in New York and their art program is full of amazing things. So anybody visiting New York who wants to visit that studio, we are committed to the growth of artistic talent in the trades. And our shop is dedicated to mentoring young sculptors to grow and understand the history of classical sculpture in plaster and in classical understanding of architecture. And that is something that we have spent a lot of time and a lot of energy to help create a platform for young talent in the United States. And we're committed to, pushing that forward as much as we can. All of our customers that engage with us to develop ornamental programs, whether it be bas-relief, classical ornamentation, anything in that ecosystem. Our head of design and sculpture, Emily Bedard, has put forward an amazing platform to grow the American identity of those folks. And we're so excited to push that into the American vocabulary of architecture, because we have such a great respect for classicism as it goes back through the centuries. But we also understand that pushing that forward today in the United States is a very, unique assignment, wherein we're not, mimicking necessarily history, but we are putting forward uh, a a version of this that is uniquely our own. And that is fundamental to what FRA is all about. So with that, I think that pretty much wraps up my somewhat clipped presentation. So I will turn that back to David.
Well, Foster, thank you very much. That was very interesting and really, really beautiful work. As a reminder, everyone, if you have any questions for Foster, please put them in the Q&A at the bottom right of your screen. And we have some questions already, so I'll kick them off. So Foster, Cheryl was wanting to know if you can name or share the name of the French plaster manufacturer supplier mentioned for the Louvre Gallery in Paris.
That would be Platre, Platre. That is a 200-year-old company that that has manufactured stupierre for since the Haussmann renovation of Paris, and they are amazing. So it's Platre, Platre, and I'm trying to think. There's another company. The French are very tricky in that regard, but if Platre, Platre doesn't come up on their screen, get in touch with me. I'm happy to put you directly in touch with the owner.
Great, thank you. Dennis Woodson had a couple of questions. One was, do you have a studio in Los Angeles? And could you share the address and contact information for that?
Absolutely. Yes, we are in East LA in geez. I don't know how to access my other thing. Yeah, we're in well, anyway, if Dennis sent me an email at fosterfreeve@fraplaster.com, I will my signature will have his will have that address. Yes, we're
Great.
very much in Los Angeles and very open to studio visits.
Oh, that's fantastic. And now for your artists in the studios, are they a comparable number of artists? Is New York larger or LA?
So, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is the fact that we are all artisans across the board. We are 85 people. We are 60 artisans, and they are spread from California to New York. The artists who do the sculpting are in New York, and I look forward to the opportunity to have that studio mimicked and mirrored in Los Angeles, and that would nothing would make my heart grow bigger than that moment. But currently, the artists who sculpt and actually do the ornamental work are in New York currently.
Got it. Dennis was also wondering if the Plaster Institute, who he had been associated with for 60 years, if they had great design manuals, he said, are they still active?
The Plaster Institute. I can't speak to that. I don't know them specifically.
Okay. So another question here, when plaster is gilded, are you employing leaf or paint typically?
So plaster is a substrate and it will accept any boule or under paint that gilding would require. And I love gilded plaster. So whoever asked that question, you know, my hat's off. That is something plaster has no problem with, but to gild it, you have to have that under paint or boule, and that would be same for wood.
Great. Tucker and Marks were wondering, what are the plaster molds made of? Clay? And what is the process of making a mold?
So when you say mold, okay, so the pattern, for example, what's on the screen right now, I don't know if that's still up, but you know, this is when we talk about a mold, the pattern can be anything. And I don't know if my image is still up, but you'll see the little dots that are in the patterning up on the upper right hand corner. Those are plastic. Those are plastic dots that we bought. Okay, so a pattern can be made from anything. A pattern is nothing more than whatever goes into the rubber mold. So all of what you see in front of you went into a rubber mold. And that mold then can, you know, be cast in plaster. So we have a lot of flexibility in terms of building our molds. And we take no prisoners here. If we can do it with this, that, or the other thing, we will do it. And that's part of the art of pattern making. And so what goes in prior to a rubber mold, more often than not, is clay and plaster. But if we can deploy some, you know, bits and pieces from elsewhere, we will do so.
Right. And then to create the rubber mold, it's a liquid rubber that you then brush on, it looked like from the photographs.
That's correct. We will either pour or brush a urethane. We prefer a urethane rubber over a silicone because urethane is soft and it will accommodate all of these intricacies that you see, the undercuts, the really complex shapes. The problem with the urethane rubber is that it doesn't last very long. And that's what separates us in many ways from, you know, a production shop who is going to say, well, we want to make 500 castings of this. What you see on your screen, we would be lucky to get 20 castings of, but we don't need 20 castings because this is a custom pattern, and will only need to be cast maybe 4 or 5 times. So we're going to go with a very soft rubber that will get right up there inside all of those, you know, intricacies, and will release and pull out. But it's not going to do it more than a dozen times before it fails and falls apart. So that's the difference between when you go online and you say, I'd like to, you know, look at a casting, a plaster casting. Well, remember, you know, if you're looking at something that needs to be cast 500 times, it's not going to have these undercuts. It's not going to have this detail associated with it. And that's, you know, part of our, you know, what we do in the marketplace. And it's, you know, it's bespoke. I mean, we are custom, and, you know, I apologize in advance that everybody has to pay the price for that. But, you know, you'll get the detail.
Mhm. You get the product that you're
Yeah.
paying for. Bonnie Frankel is wondering how your technique differs from something like a Robert Adams ceiling from, centuries ago.
Well, when you say technique, that's a very interesting question, because you're not really saying technique, you're saying, process and material. Okay, so Robert Adams, a century ago or more, we're talking about fat lime. Okay, we're talking about bitumen molds. We're talking about an entirely different economic model. Okay, so you go back that length of time, labor was not your driving cost. Today, labor is your driving cost. So couched in that, comparison, now we're talking about how do we get that level of detail, excellence, performance, beauty, everything. How do we get that today? What's the mechanism? That's what we're all about. And it is a byproduct of engineering, product development, which we've spent copious amounts of time on, and a delivery system that is quick, efficient, and hopefully successful at the end of the day. Contractors struggle with this, okay? Designers are challenged by this. They don't, there's not a clear line from that historic moment to today's iteration of that. And I could wax poetic about that, and there's 1,000 slides I can, deploy to define that. But the bottom line is, it's gypsum, okay? What they were doing, well, I shouldn't say that. It's calcium carbonate. And I didn't bore the audience with the technical side of that. But this is a stable product. That was what they were deploying. We would deploy exactly the same thing in a different iteration to achieve exactly the same result. If somebody were to say, I would like that ceiling in my house. At the end of the day, it's all the same. And the reality is that it is delivered in a very different way, because economics and material science define how we're going to go forward.
Got it. We've got a couple of questions about the HVAC registers. One is, are those single pieces? Do they require extra reinforcing or anything like that? And also, if you could talk a little bit more about their stability, knowing that you're going to have hot and cold air going through, humidity, how do they hold up against those conditions?
They hold up without reservation. I don't know how to be more specific than that. The fact is, they are integrated. This is a monolithic assembly. So that little meander that you're seeing up there is an HVAC plenum essentially, that's delivering air constantly. And it is embedded in a plaster build out. And this is, there's nothing different here than would be anywhere, to say that the plaster does not react, okay? It doesn't react if it's in this configuration or in any configuration. It doesn't care. It doesn't care about humidity. It doesn't care about temperature. It just doesn't care. So it's like a piece of stone. All right. So if this were a stone ceiling and that was a stone meander attached to that ceiling, everybody would get it. Oh gosh, that's stone. Plaster is stone. Okay. It is calcium sulfite, which is the same as calcium carbonate, which is limestone. So this is a limestone ceiling, and it really just doesn't give a hoot what you put through it. And it's not going to react to any of those forces.
Thanks. Speaking of those forces, we do have a question. Does temperature and humidity play a role into casting the plaster?
Well, if somebody wants to come to the studio, we can have a little fun. Yeah, I mean, a 95-degree day with 100% humidity in our Brooklyn studio, where everybody is, in their sweats and doing the do, and a 30-degree day where the heaters are blowing full blast. And we're casting 4 or 5 different plaster composites that we do. You want to have that day, I'm happy to be there with you. The fact is that, we know how to manage that. And yes, it does affect how we perform. But the end product, once it's cured, dried in our drying room and crated up, it doesn't care.
A little closer to home for Southern California, how do you take into the design of your plaster work seismic zone, being in a seismic zone and being able to handle a potential earthquake?
Great question. So when we're talking about suspended ceilings, let's say you want to do this amazing dome, over some entry. The photo in front of you is a nice complex dome. But if you wanted to do something where you were really seismically released, we would hang this dome and we would disengage it from the wall. This is something that, we've done a couple of projects in China. We've done a couple of projects in Tokyo, where we literally disengage a significant ceiling, which is hung from the adjacent walls. Not complicated, not difficult. So you can do that. The reality of seismic for our product in a normal build out is that we are monolithic, okay? We are concrete. We are cement, all right? So we're going to bond to everything. And when everything fails, we fail. So we're not rubber, we're not plastic, we're not styrofoam. We don't have any magical component that can be, you know, deployed in that environment. We are monolithic. So when your house cracks, we will crack with it. But when your house breathes, we will breathe with it. When your house sweats, we will sweat with it. And we are incredibly attuned to Mother Nature in every way, shape, and form. But we're not gonna help you when your house, you know, cracks. But you know, we're a very healthy interior otherwise.
Thanks. I have a question that is, can plaster be bonded to concrete?
Absolutely. Hey, we're both stone.
Yeah,
Concrete
exactly.
is, you know, come on, you know, that's our friend. That is that's our best friend. You know, plaster is a monolithic. We are stone. We are essentially calcium, and calcium, you know, which is news to me, early on, is actually a metal. It's an incredibly unstable metal, and that metal oxidizes, and it has done so for the millennia, and has created all of our limestone, all of our travertine, all of our marble, everything on the planet. It's the fifth most abundant mineral on Earth, or element, I should say. Fifth most abundant element on Earth. It is so green, so healthy. Calcium is the first house that was ever built on this planet by these little, you know, creatures that, you know, erupted, and their shells are the foundation of an enormous deposit of everything that we harvest today as marble, limestone, travertine, everything. It's just such an amazingly awesome product that we want to bring to bear in this world where forests are being, you know, taken down, new growth, you know, opportunities are being exploited in ways that produce really, you know, not the most wonderful millwork that we've ever known. And this product is stable, regular. I mean, you know, my trajectory on the planet here is not to grow my business. Okay. I don't care about FRA beyond taking care of my employees. What I care about is delivering this product to the marketplace. I invite anybody who wants to learn, come to the studios. We have 2 of them. We're going to have a third one in South Florida very shortly. It's, you know, learn about it, understand it. This will deliver the most amazing design opportunities, across the board, economic, social. I don't know how you want to couch it. It's a great product. Own it, use it, deploy it on design, you know, architecture, building technology. It's simple. It doesn't require complex, you know, build outs. It's the most universal of the products. And guess what? In the United States, we own a boatload of this material, a boatload. I mean, it's, over this last, 2 years, millwork has gone through the roof. Our product, our price for a tractor trailer of this product has gone up 4%. It's more on the trucking side than it is on the mining side. This is nothing. And its footprint on the mining and processing is nothing. It's 180 degrees. 180 degrees. That's all you need to turn a gypsum mined product into a bagged gypsum. It's not 900 degrees. It's not, cement in any way, shape, or form. This is a really green product that really delivers enormous value to the marketplace. I don't know how to couch it in any more positive ways than to say the design community, the architecture community, and the building community need to embrace this. And guess what? They don't need to embrace it with FRA. They need to go out to their local guys and say, hey, check out FRA. Why aren't you doing what they're doing? Because listen, I'm 60 years old. I don't need the money, but what I love is this product. And I think we really need to push this into the ecosystem of our marketplace, because the end result of this is a really high quality interior, and just, a lot of design opportunities that really, I think the design community doesn't even know about. So they need to learn about it. So anyway.
Well, Foster, thank you. I mean, that's very inspirational. I think everyone on this call is thinking, I think, inflation, I think it's time to go do some plaster.
Yeah, why not, right? Have some fun and get in there and enjoy the design things. Listen, I love architects, okay? I love designers. What I really love is when they drop the burden that they are carrying, which is huge. It's huge. And they're able to say, okay, let's have some fun. Let's design. And that's where FRA loves to partner with folks who are going down that path. And listen, I embrace everybody across that spectrum. So if anyone listening out there is saying, hey, you know what, we don't have a huge budget, but we'd like to, entertain this. I think our owner is comfortable with having this dialogue. You know what? I'm in. Because this is about growing that, I think, ecosystem, which, God bless that we have that opportunity here in the United States to actually pursue, things that are maybe somewhat outside of the box. And I'm looking forward to the day where we're not outside of the box.
Excellent. Well, Foster, thank you so much for joining us, for sharing this wonderful work and this inspirational information. Thank you, everyone who joined us on the Zoom. We really appreciate it. And we hope to see you at future programming here at the ICA. Hey.
Thank you.